Hey guys, Harrison here with the new Mayako MX8 2024. I've got the 2022 here next to us. We're just going to go through some of the changes, some of the updates I made on the car. We've included the new lightweight winged body as an option. You can actually run the non-winged body as well. So starting in the front of the car, the first big update is the new C-hub and knuckle arrangement and the way that they're manufactured and the adjustment you've got in them. So in the new car, you've actually got this insert here, whereas on the old car you can see you just had 3 holes that you put through for the top of the outer length. That's now got an adjustment. So you've still got your 3 holes for left to right, but now that can actually be flipped, so you have up and down adjustment. Inside the C-hub now, you've actually got a spacer which goes for the first bearing. So with the old car, you just push the bearing in, it stopped inside the hub. It actually now goes further into the hub. So general fit and finish as well between the two is the new knuckle has a bit of a matte texture to it. It's a nicer finish as compared to the gloss finish. On the gold anodizing is of a slightly different finish as well. It's a bit more gold. Whereas you've also now got on the bottom where the bottom kingpin comes through. On the old car, with KPI 1 or any of the KPI adjustments, that actually is a through kingpin. So the front hinge pin comes through. There's no way of actually fixing that kingpin from moving. It would sort of just not fall out. Whereas on the new car, you're actually fixing it with a screw that comes through the bottom. As you can see here on the old car, we would drill and we tap in a thread and run a grub screw in. No need to do that anymore. So that's a nice luxury of life. Staying in the front of the car, the new turnbuckles are 5mm longer than the old turnbuckle. Moving back through the car, the screws that go in to hold the brake pads are different. Moving back into the rear of the car now, so before you had an aluminium rear shock tower, now you go to a carbon fibre that's got adjustment for the wing height. Biggest change I've made to the car is the screw type hinge pins. So starting in the front, the A blocks actually now has its insert reverse, so the insert's now going on the inside. It's a smaller insert, it's made of carbon rather than plastic. You've got the screw type hinge pins straight out the box. So now talking about the new car, some things that we do straight out the box. Starting in the front, going to the black linear spring. They come in the kit with brown front and rear. Moving to the center of the chassis, we run the long chassis bracing. So for the servo and the motor mount, there is actually a long brace on either side. It's an option. That stiffens up the center of the car and really particularly helps with the way the brakes feel. So without it, when the car's on particularly high grip and come under brakes and you hit a bump, the car would have flexed movement. The brakes didn't feel very consistent. Moving to this brakes, it actually supports it midway through the brake linkages. It actually stops a lot of the flexing in the car. In the rear of the car, starting at the brace, we are making carbon plates that screw through and bolt it down. We are actually putting carbon inserts on the rear in the arms, just to stiffen up the rear and to help try and give the car a little bit more rotation. So just some of the features on the car, you've got the front and rear skid plates. They are integrated into the chassis. You've got the lock in the front here to actually block the steering to make it easier to set your alignment, check your camber, check everything exactly square. So you've got a shim under the gearbox. You've then got an insert for your blocks. So you can adjust your blocks independently of the gearbox height. And then you've got an adjustment point for where the shock tower sits within the gearbox. The car's been designed so you can move the gearbox up and down and keep your blocks and your shock tower height the same. If you're looking for a different way to create grip or a different adjustment, you can actually just drop your blocks independent to what your anti-squat actually is. So you can adjust it obviously within the pills, but with that insert you can have further adjustment. In the rear, we're running the option aluminium rear hubs. With these, you do actually have toe adjustment as well out here. Up here, we've got more adjustment with the carbon plates than you do with the plastic is you've actually got adjustment on the center diff, so you can actually slide this forward and backwards. So obviously, depending on the way that you shim flywheel, you shim your clutch, you put the motor forward or rear, you might need to move that a little. I find once you've set it to the way that you run the car, I like to have a bit of shoe glue in there. You can use super glue just to make sure when you take it out and put it back in, it's in the same position every time, because obviously if you move it back, you're going to affect the way that the brake bias is acting, so you might have to readjust that. Whereas if you shoe glue it or glue it, just when it drops back in, it doesn't move, it goes back in the exact same spot every single time. The footage running here in Maitland, here in New South Wales, it's a really high grip surface. It's best way to describe it as oil sealed dirt, but it's very old oil sealed dirt. So the surface is actually turned into more like tarmac. It's the hardest packed surface I think I've ever driven on. Settings we've got running in the car is in the front, the black spring with 50 weight XTR oil. In the rear, 45 weight with the brown spring. In the rear, running the 2.5mm sway bar. In the front, running the 2.4, so the thickest front and only the 2.5 in the rear. In the diffs, running quite a dramatic setup of 100,000 in the front, 30,000 in the center, and 7,000 in the rear. Running the hubs in the middle position. It's a nice car to drive with a really thick front diff. Thanks for sticking around. There's going to be a lot more content on this car and on other cars and on RC racing in general. So if that interests you, please feel free to subscribe, stick around and watch what we've got to do this year. Thank you.